Hey everyone, Retire on Dividends here. Back to talk about somewhat of a controversial topic, which, to be honest, I never got right from the start. And that's return on capital. So, whenever you hear return on capital, and keep in mind, I come from a dividend growth investing background where I'm investing in individual companies that pay the dividend and grow the dividend. So if you ever hear return on capital for any payment of a dividend, typically that's a bad sign. I was never really into the ETF, investing, mainly because I wanted to do the investing myself. I wanted to pick and choose the companies that I invest in. So it wasn't until these high yield dividend ETFs came out that I actually got involved in ETFs. And with ETFs come a whole different learning experience, different rules, different, things that you have to understand. And this is just another example of me, just learning as I'm doing this, because anytime I saw return on capital, whether it be curve, clip, YieldMax, I automatically just mentioned it as a negative. And that was my fault. So I apologize for that. And the more, the reason this is even coming up, I went to the YieldMax website and I went under Tesla and I noticed towards the bottom when you go to their forms, they added a new tax form. They had the other one. They had the supplemental tax, which is now supplemental tax 1. And this is for September, right? And they showed, okay, 100% of that payment, which was 58 cents, was return on capital. Okay, so be it. I guess they didn't make money that month. And then the, since they renamed that to 1, obviously I clicked this one. And sure enough, the October payment is now return on capital. And just like September, this is 100% return on capital. So if you look now, 85% is from net investment income. These are total distributions. And then 14% is return on capital, for the fiscal year to date, which is another story. What is the fiscal year? I need to really find that out still, because I did see something that said April 30th. I'm really hoping it's 1/1 to 12/31. But if it is April 30th, I will find that out soon. But regardless of that, that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to show that Tesla September and October payments to us were 100% return on capital. So I mentioned that in my Discord, and people were freaking like, "Oh no, this is bad," and that. Then a lot of people chimed in, "Well, it's not that bad. This is ETFs. This is a tax advantage. So on and so forth." So I'm just going to go through some websites, that I read through, and then you guys take it from there. Let me know what you think. But so let me close out this webpage. But yeah, in summary, if you wanted to see what funds are paying out return on capital, that is where you'd go. And I honestly haven't checked the others. One of the other ones I own is AMSI. So now I'm just curious to see, do they have any tax documents here? Supplemental tax. Okay, November. They have November's on there. 100% return on capital. So yeah, even AMSI is 100% return on capital, which is crazy. All right, so let me go from the beginning. First things first, I went to the IRS website directly. So because they are the source, right? When it comes to anything, especially related to investing, tax, etc., you want to really go to the almighty, we'll say, the Internal Revenue Service. And by the way, guys, before I even get into this, please don't take this as tax advice. It's not tax advice. And it's also not financial advice. Please do your own research. All right. It's just me doing the research that I did and try to convert it to English, the best to my ability. All right. So return on capital on the IRS website states distributions that qualify as a return on capital aren't dividends. A return of capital is a return of some or all of your investment in the stock of the company. A return of capital reduces the adjusted cost basis of your stock. So this is to understand that, so basically, if your average cost basis is $10 per share and you get a dollar dividend, that's 100% return on capital. Your new cost basis will be $9. So what does that mean? That means basically if you sell, say you sell the same stock at $10, you're going to have a capital gains of $1. Obviously, if they did not do the return on capital of a dollar payment, then your 10/10 would be a wash. So, but if you never sell, that's pretty much irrelevant. All right, let me continue. A distribution generally qualifies as a return of capital if the corporation making the distribution doesn't have any accumulated or current year earnings and profits. So again, when we talk about corporation, this is what I always was thinking. Individual stocks, they don't have the earnings to support the dividend. So if they're paying you return on capital, that's not good. Once the adjusted, this is an interesting sentence. Once the adjusted cost basis of your stock has been reduced to zero, any further non-dividend distribution is taxable capital gain that you report. Okay, so if that same stock you own, say you owned it at $10 again, and you got $1 for the next, let's say 10 months, and that dollar was 100% return on capital, your cost basis is now zero. So that next payment of $1, again, that's going to be, if it's return on capital, you're going to have to pay taxes on that one. Because the other ones you're not, because when you're paying return on capital, you're getting your own money back essentially. So it's a wash. It's a tax advantage. But if your cost basis is now zero, if essentially the return on capital kind of wiped out your cost basis and you're still holding on to the stock or ETF, then you're going to have to eventually pay capital gains tax, which is better than ordinary income tax, by the way, too. So again, this is pretty interesting to me. And then another question I have is, how do these brokerages keep track of this, right? Each and every account is going to have because if you look at your cost basis on the account, that doesn't change, at least to my knowledge, right? Your cost basis is your cost basis. I'm thinking now they should have a taxable cost basis in the account for you to look at, which I haven't looked into yet, by the way. I will, though, because now I'm very, very curious. So that's from the IRS website. I'm just going to go through a few other websites. All right, how do I close this one? Sorry. There you go. Let me close that out. All right, so the next one is from investinganswers.com. All right, so what is return on capital? It's a ratio that measures how well a company returns capital into profits. In other words, blah, blah, blah. I forget why I kept this one. This one has like a formula, but that's kind of based on the company. Yeah, here's a good sentence. Everything you need to learn how to calculate ROC, return on capital, can be found on the company's financial statements. So really, everything I'm saying now is hearsay. I'm going to wait really until I get the YieldMax financial statements for the entire year to actually see what's happening. That'll really help me. Until then, it's just, based on what I'm researching from multiple websites. I mean, for the most part, it does make sense. It's a tax advantage that the ETF, the fund managers, are using, and it's to the benefit of us. Really, it is. So it's hard to imagine that, though. Neo's had a good section here. Let me go here. All right, what is return of capital in an ETF? All right, so return on capital is a distribution made by an ETF to its investors that is classified as a return of the investor's original investment. Unlike dividends or interest income, return of capital is not considered income and is not immediately taxable. Instead, it reduces the investor's cost basis in the ETF, which is what we just spoke about, which can potentially reduce the amount of capital gains tax owed whether or when the investor sells the shares. Return of capital can be particularly useful for ETFs that use options writing strategies to generate income. Hint, hint, is what we're doing. So, Yeah, here's some other information. What factors might investors want to consider? Return of capital can help lower investors' current tax liability by reducing the amount of taxable income an investor receives. Return of capital can potentially reduce the amount of taxes owed in the year the distribution is received. So this is, I mean, the fact that some of my income for this year is return of capital, in fact, maybe even more than half, I'm actually really, really happy because I was not prepared at all for, a tax bill. So it looks like, and I'll wait till I get all my documents, but it looks like I may be sitting pretty. Return of capital can help investors manage their cash flow needs. By returning a portion of the investor's original investment, return of capital can provide investors with a steady stream of cash flow without requiring them to sell assets. So essentially they're saying, okay, you're making a capital gain, but you're not selling it. That's kind of like what they're saying, it sounds like. And then finally, return of capital can potentially help investors generate higher after-tax monthly income distributions. Because return of capital is not immediately taxable, it can help investors reduce their current tax liability and potentially boost their after-tax returns. So that, again, that's the benefit for me. And then they get into the return of capital for their funds, which I'm not gonna, get into that. So let's close that out. And now, regulated investment companies. I talked about this before. These are the companies that have to pay out 90% of their income. So now the YieldMax funds, and I believe a lot of these other funds, they strive to be RICs, regulated investment companies. So I'm assuming they're still required to pay out 90% of their net investment income. However, I did just watch a video with, I believe, the Neos fund manager and Armchair, credit to Armchair, by the way. And he said losses, can be netted or used, with no limit. Year after year, for prior year losses, you can use them the following year or the year after that, etc. Although YieldMax funds are pretty new, it's possible that they could be still making income and using any prior year losses to pay us return on capital. Again, I have no idea. And I really need to wait until the year-end documents come out to talk about this. But I just wanted to get a quick video out just to say return of capital is not bad for ETFs. It could be, and maybe in some scenarios, but for the most part, it seems it's really like it's tactical. It's an advantage to the investor and the fund manager and the fund in general. That's it's not just basically they didn't make money and they're paying it out just because. No, they're actually saving you taxes. Although they're paying you, they're classifying it as your own money. It's essentially you could have capital gains and get a return on capital and still be up in the fund. But again, I'm doing my best to explain what I've read, and it's still to me very confusing. I am no expert by any means, but please, I just wanted to bring up the conversation, make this video, get it out there, because the main point I just want to make is for options, income, ETFs, return of capital could be a really good thing. Okay? So the last source I think was from TD. Let's just see what is ROC, blah, blah, blah. Oh, this one actually had a cool example, a visual here. So if you look on the bottom, so yeah, here we go. So Kate, says mutual fund, has 100 units at $10 per unit. At another time, Kate purchased 100 more units at a fund at $12 a unit, whatever. Kate now has 200 units with a total investment of $2,200. Okay, so her cost average is $11. All right, if Kate sold her units for $15 a unit and has average cost basis of $11 a unit, she would realize a capital gain, obviously, of $4 a unit. Okay. Now we're bringing in return of capital. So here's the example. If, let's look at this sentence here. Of that $4 unit distribution, $3 of the unit is interest and income. Okay, so that's taxable as normal income, etc. And then $1 of that is paid in return of capital. So Kate's average cost basis of $11 will now need to be reduced by the return of capital payment. So her new cost basis is $10 a unit. 11 minus $1, $10. So now if she sells her 200 shares at the current value of $15, her cost basis being $10, she'll have to pay $5 capital gains tax instead of the above, which showed $4, because again, her original cost basis was truly $11. And again, if she never sells and this continues and the cost basis goes down to zero, then any further return of capital payments will be taxed, but I'm showing, and I could be wrong, as capital gains. Hopefully not ordinary income, but if it is, it is. But until then, we're gonna get a tax advantage. Like, to me, I'm okay with like half the year being return on capital, as long as the NAV is staying flat or going up, and we're getting good dividends and 50% of them return on capital. I'm good with that. That's a massive savings on the tax bill. And it kind of changes how I'm preparing for my tax bill for the following year, because I was going to do heavy deductions, going back to federal and state. Now I have no idea what I'm going to do. But yeah, this is very interesting and confusing at the same time. But like I said, I just wanted to get something out there to begin the discussion. And if you want to keep this discussion going, please join my Discord. The link is in my channel. And yes, it's free. Nobody should charge for Discord. I don't understand how someone would pay to join a Discord. Can someone please clarify that to me? Like, who would pay money to join a chat room? Like, is that normal? I don't understand it. Information is free. You go on the internet, the information is free. So why would you pay money? Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. So anyway, if you join my Discord, obviously it's free. We could continue this discussion of return of capital, like gentlemen, because you may want to correct me, and that's fine. I'm all about that. I just want everyone to understand how this works. I want to understand how it works. And I'm learning as I go. But I'm going to teach you guys as I learn. So again, this is just some information I found. And it's better than what I thought. Again, I'm knocking Curve because both of their first two payments were 100% return on capital. I'm knocking Clip because all of their payments are return on capital. But obviously, I apologize to Curve, I apologize to Clip, and I apologize to YieldMax. Their return on capital payments, those essentially the fund managers were kind of doing us a favor. Yes, in some instances, they were truly just not making money and they paid us our own money. But again, it's too early for me to say. I need like this is another reason for me to track funds such as the Defiance funds and the YieldMax funds for 1 full year, assuming I get the correct fiscal year, how it works, how it's playing out, how much money they're making, how much they're paying out, how much really is return on capital. And then, of course, now I'm going to need carry forward losses from the prior year, which I don't have. So maybe it's in the tax documentation when they present, the new documents for this year. But in summary, this is a mouthful. It's just a handful. It's a lot to take in. But all you need to know is for the immediate, don't sell a fund because it's paying return of capital. Hold off. Wait till you get, the quarterly filings, the semi-annual filings, or the year-end filings, before you jump down their throats or just give up on the fund, because it could be, again, a tactical advantage to benefit the shareholder, so you don't have to pay taxes. Or it could be the fund sucks and they're only paying return on capital. Again, it's because I know for a fact, at least from what I calculated, YieldMax is making money. I don't know about that October payment, but the November, the December, and now the January, they should, I show them making money. So if they're paying return on capital, it's because it's a plan. They're using prior losses to offset that payment against, which is okay, right? It's great. So I like that. I like that. This is why we pay them 0.99%, because we don't know how to do this. At least I don't. This is beyond me. This is ridiculous, but it's awesome at the same time. So props to these people running the funds. They're doing more than what we think, Anyway, I went on and on. I would recommend you guys going out there. There's probably a lot of good YouTube videos out there on this. I didn't get to look at it. Unfortunately, I don't have unless I'm driving, I really can't listen to YouTube channels. But if you guys do find a really good video, please share it in my Discord and the shared videos channel for the community to listen to, because I'm sure there's a lot of good content. I am by far not I'm not even close to a good, reliable source on this. I just want to bring up the topic because I know a lot of people listen to my channel now, which is awesome. Thank you. And a lot of people because I speak the normal language. I don't try to overcomplicate things. So right now I'm just bringing up the discussion so we can get to the bottom of this, and we will get to the bottom of this. It's just the beginning of the discussion. So, especially as this year end comes to, we're in January. Today, I'm making this video. It's January 1st. Happy New Year's, by the way. Probably going to post it tomorrow, 3 o'clock anyway. But, it's bringing up the discussion for us to talk about. All right. Anyway, I keep rambling, so let me stop. If you made it this far into the video, prove it by typing R.O.D. And that's it. And then I know you made it to the end of the video. Anyway, I like to do that sometimes just to see who really made it to the end of the video. You don't have to do that, but if you want to, just to show me, that's awesome. But anyway, thank you for watching. If you have more information on return of capital, please either leave in the comments or come to the Discord and let's talk about it. Okay? If I got something wrong on this video, feel free to correct me. That's fine. If you enjoyed this video, please click like. All right? Anyway, I got to go. Make sure the baby's not awake yet. But either way, again, I just wanted to bring up the discussion. Now it's brought up, and now we'll figure it out. We'll get there. Whether it takes a month, 2 months, a year, we're going to figure this out. All right? Anyway, I'm out of here. Later.